Welcome to Coffee Talk with the Ladies. Today's topic, Jay Asher's 13 Reasons Why.
Hi, I'm Hope Stratis, bringing you today's national news. The newest nationwide craze is all about Jay Asher's young adult novel, 13 Reasons Why, whose audience ranges from teenagers to young adults. To summarize, this book addresses the issues of teen bullying and suicide. It brings readers along an emotional roller coaster following the victim, Hannah Baker. The book informs readers of her struggles in high school and its great impact on the teen's decision to commit suicide. This book was released 10 years ago when it was first published in 2007. However, in recent years, the notoriety of this book increased drastically. Reinforced by USA Today, this book is a #1 bestseller. It was first noticed on January 8, 2009, when it became a part of the top 150 of USA Today's list. Then, in April, the book shot to #1, following the nationwide premiere of the Netflix series, which was released on March 31st. This was based off of the book. In addition, Asher's 13 Reasons Why has sold more than 3 million copies in the United States. Imagine its fame worldwide. With fame and fortune also comes some sort of a negative outcome. Although the book was written to spark the discussion about teen suicide between children, parents, and schools, and to bring awareness to the issue, people have taken its meaning to the extremes. A Colorado school district suffered from the loss of 7 students after some critics believed that the book romanticizes suicide. The district temporarily removed the book from its schools, a type of censorship that aggravated librarians. The banning of 13 Reasons Why in the Mesa County Valley School District lasted only 3 hours on April 28th. It was pulled by the district's curriculum director, Lee Russo. She said, "I think we were just being cautious until we had the opportunity to look at the book and see how closely related to the movie it was. This is because the series, known to all students over the United States, is more graphic and intense for a young audience. Schools are trying to cope with this issue as best as they can, because suicide is no joke, especially in regards to the lives of this world's future." Here is Gracie Mass with the interview.
And now, Gracie Mass's interview with Becky Manley.
Thanks, Hope. Today I'm here with Becky Manley, a mother from Newtown, Massachusetts, who has watched and discussed the show with her teenage children. This story and show have both been very controversial subjects. What are some of your concerns?
So I think a couple of things that are really troubling. Number one, it's a story about Hannah. And she, like a lot of teens, is searching to be recognized, popular, and accepted. And I feel like what the show does, it makes these things happen to her after she commits suicide. And so for me, it sends this message to not just my girls. I work as a teen coach, but also some of the clients that this is something that is successful and will get you what you want.
The point has been brought up that the show sparks a high capacity to spark conversation between parents and their kids. The author of the novel, Jay Asher, was quoted as saying, "I thought it was something I should work on because our society has such a hard time discussing these very real problems." How do you feel about the conversation it sparks?
My worry is that many of the kids watching this are not watching it with their parents. I watched it with my girls as well. However, I think the bulk of these kids are watching it in their rooms, on their iPads, on their laptops. The other really big concern that I have is that for my kids, if something happens, I want them to feel safe in their school environment and feel like they could go to their school counselor, which I think didn't happen in this show.
Do you feel that the show puts a burden on kids to be more responsible for their friends' mental health?
That was one of the responses from my 18-year-old. First of all, she said Hannah had some mental illness that wasn't talked about in the film, but she said it also made it seem like everyone was to blame for her suicide, and she's right. And I think it's an issue especially among adolescent girls because they feel responsible sometimes for how their friends are feeling. And they talk to each other, and sometimes I worry that especially since counselor wasn't helpful, the kids would talk to the other kids versus going to an adult for help and guidance.
Thank you. Now back to you, Hope.
Hello, it's me again, Hope Stratis, bringing you local news from the tri-state area. 13 Reasons Why has spread rapidly and is making its mark on all areas of the United States. This latest news report hits closer to home and is from a New Jersey school district. The young adult novel, which provoked the creation of its Netflix series, has once again gotten negative remarks. The book and show vary in multiple ways. One alarming difference between the book and the show is how the main character, Hannah Baker, kills herself. The book states that she swallowed a handful of pills, unlike the show, which displays a very graphic scene of the teen slitting her wrist while laying in her bathtub, only for her parents, who are not really present in the actual book, find her and call 911. This interpretation is what made the experience of watching the Netflix series a lot more disturbing. As a result, students from Montclair Public Schools were sent home with letters to inform their parents of the inappropriate content and concerning portrayal of suicide in the show. According to mental health counselor Andrew Evangelista, the show does not provide true insight on teens struggling with suicide. He said, "The show fails to identify mental health issues as well as resources available to teens and makes the viewers think that suicide is only an external event, when in reality, bullying, excessive drinking and drug use, failure to identify mental issues, and internal factors all contribute to the result of one looking to end their life." Evangelista feels that it is best for kids and parents to have a trigger warning, which can be used to prepare people who are interested in watching the show. The benefit from watching the show is that more people will begin to talk about teen suicide. Also stated by Evangelista, this is something that's controversial. It's provocative. It's going to stimulate kids to talk, and parents should be aware of it. Until more news on 13 Reasons Why, let's turn to Catherine Russo with the investigative report.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Catherine Russo, and I will be bringing you today's investigative report. Parents of tweens, teens, and just about all of the country are abuzz with talk about Jay Asher's 13 Reasons Why. More specifically, the new television adaptation produced with streaming organization Netflix, based on the 2007 novel. The show has garnered great controversy for its depiction of teenage suicide, as well as bullying, violence, and sexual assault. The main character, Hannah Baker, commits suicide after being affected by the aforementioned factors. Hannah later leaves a group of tapes assigned to each of the 13 reasons, or people whom she holds responsible for her ending her own life. An article by British tabloid The Guardian argues it's being the television show, a revenge fantasy, so it portrays suicide as an act that will achieve something. It's aimed at a young audience who are particularly susceptible to contagion and particularly likely to experience suicidal thoughts. It normalizes and legitimizes the act. But this begs the question, are teens really so fickle and flighty that they would mimic such a brutal thing as suicide? Tapes and all? Perhaps, but only if, as implied in Hannah's situation, there is some pre-existing mental illness. Psychologists have always investigated the effects of peer pressure on young people and how outside factors influence the decisions we make. In an interview with the American Psychological Organization, Dr. Brett Larson states, "We all know that susceptibility to peer pressure is greater for children who don't have a lot of friends. They want to protect the friendships that they have, and so they are more likely to do what their friends say. If we instead view the Circumstantial Friends as a television program, we may see that it might have a negative influence on someone who is lonely and depressed before even viewing the show." News organizations like The Guardian and Rolling Stone have even implied that the show glamorizes suicide or instructs young people on how to kill themselves. Still, young people sadly experience things like bullying in their own lives. They hear about it all the time and are aware that people take their own lives, as well as how they proceed with this horrible act. Of course, the mature themes and graphic images do provide just cause for a parent to be cautious of their children reading the novel or watching the television program. Dr. Larson also explains parents can serve as a buffer against peer influence. If, as a parent, one views the novel or television show as a source of peer pressure or as being too graphic, they can make the choice to censor what they could find could negatively influence their child. However, author Jay Asher had a different view of the criticism the television adaptation of his book has stirred up. While speaking at the Twin Cities Teen Lit Convention in Minnesota, Asher described his book as a cautionary tale and believes it would actually aid troubled teens in seeking out help. In an interview with ABC7, Cynthia Sanchez, whose daughter was a victim of suicide, gave her opinion on the show. ABC7 reported, Sanchez hopes that the Netflix hit will be, at the very least, be a catalyst for parents to talk to their children about how to reach out for help. I'll pass this to Gabrielle. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. Here's a letter from one of our viewers who has a daughter who read Jay Asher's young adult novel, 13 Reasons Why. My 13-year-old daughter made a serious suicide attempt after reading 13 Reasons Why last year. While I don't think there was a strict cause and effect, I do believe that the book tipped the scale as she was going through a difficult time at school. Since she has watched the series, her perspective is that the book and the series are different. In her words, Hannah was a more empathetic character in the book. She is not as likable in the series. It does appear that the producers molded the book content to modify the message, but the point remains in both the book and the series that no one recognized the signs and made an effort to help Hannah. Teenage suicide is real and needs to be discussed. The fact that the series created engagement around the topic is positive. I hope that parents, schools, and students use it to start a conversation. This letter comes from Portland, Oregon. I agree that the series and book may spark teen suicide. It can be a triggering message to anyone, not just teens, who have thought about ending their own life. Both the book and the series, however, can get people to start talking about how to prevent suicide rather than encourage it. Remember, recognize the signs, and if you see anyone whom you think might be considering suicide, get them help. What are your opinions of the hit show? Tweet us your feelings with the handle @CoffeeTalk. This is Gabrielle Monti signing off.
Don't forget to come back tomorrow at 8 o'clock. We'll see you then.